welcome back. Today we're here with Chris. Chris, can you introduce yourself and your role in the LJMU Student Futures?
So I'm Chris Finn, I'm the Director of Student Futures. That's the Careers and Employability team here at John Moores. So to a degree the book stops with me, so I oversee the team, who are fabulous, but also it's about how does the university approach employability,
yes.
and how are we doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're currently researching how mental health and employability have kind of a connection and how they impact each other. Do you believe that employers more recently are becoming increasingly aware of mental health issues and how they affect their employees?
Yes, but I think they could do a lot better. So yes, and also it depends what kind of employers we're talking about. So if you're a very large recruiter and you employ a lot of people, you've probably got a human resources department.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're quite switched on, and I think people on one side understand that what you don't want is a stress-inducing environment. In fact, there's probably legal requirements for that. But a smart employer will realise that what you actually want is people who are happy and well-adjusted and are going to perform to the best and feel good and be motivated. So I think large organisations, I think if you're a smaller business and you don't have a human resources department, it's just the business owner, then maybe it's less evident to them. But I think there's a recognition that, more could be done there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the students themselves, in your opinion, what would you say would be some misconceptions they hold about employment after graduation?
I think, which might sound odd, but I think it can be challenging. It can be challenging to find the role you want. It can be challenging to kind of progress in a role, and that is incredibly normal. So I think if I was going to tackle one big misperception, it would be the idea that everyone else is doing amazing and you're not, because actually it takes a bit of work and it can be a bit challenging. So for me, the key thing would be if you're finding it's taking a bit of time, or you're not quite where you want to be, and you're not entirely delighted and satisfied, that's perfectly normal. It's not just you. It's probably the key thing, I'd say.
And would you say, have you seen a vast difference in careers and employability post-COVID? And have you seen any impact that it's had on those students that were at university during the pandemic?
So yeah, and this is kind of very well documented in a way as well. So I think to state the obvious, that generation, that cohort, wouldn't have been able to connect with the outside world as much. So a big part of what we advocate for are placements and internships. All of those weren't possible in the traditional sense during that. So in terms of all the stuff that imparts, your understanding of how the workplace actually is and all the connections you could make, that's kind of hampered a little bit. I think there's more kind of subtle things in terms of we had that strange little part where people's grades were decided first by a computer. If you remember this, an algorithm. And then when they kind of got all over that, then it was predicted grades. And again, it might sound a bit odd, but I think the fact that you don't know you achieved a grade
is weird.
You might have views on whether it was the right judgment or not, and definitely if it's a computer. So I think there's something about, you haven't necessarily gone, look, I've validated myself here, I've put myself out there and got an answer. So yeah, and I think it's also about what follows that. I think we're in a cost of living crisis to a degree that is rooted in the pandemic. It came very quickly after. And most of our students have to work, and some of them really are probably working full time, not part time. So I think that has an impact on what we do and how we work with students. The secret, I think, is how do we make that a positive? How can we get more out of that? But the reality shifted, I think. It's a tough economy as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And still looking at the pandemic and how that's impacted obviously work and careers, would you say that working from home has had any impact on mental health?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Again, there is kind of research.
Yeah,
on
there's
all
quite a bit
this.
of research on
Yeah,
that one.
so you're probably ahead of me.
Yeah.
There's loads of like AI jobs as well
Yeah.
now coming
Right.
in. Yeah.
So there's a lot of research about this, and essentially the research is it kind of comes down the side of hybrid.
Yeah.
Because if you're fully remote, people feel they don't feel a sense of belonging.
Yeah, because then it goes back to that work from home office debate,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And I
Yeah.
think this now feels like history. This is like 2 or 3 years ago, but it
Yeah.
feels like history. But I think there was a period for us
Yeah.
where you noticed that your Teams or your Zoom call, you were doing that for a reason. Like now people will ring up each other.
Yeah.
But at the time it was, right, we've got an hour and we're there for a reason. And the reason I say that was even in our team, there were people saying, well, you know, I want to progress and I want to get
Yeah.
noticed. And the stuff that happens before or after a meeting isn't there anymore. You're there for the meeting.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the bit after where you have a chat with someone or
yeah.
can I have
Yeah.
a conversation. So I think less connection.
Yeah.
At the same time, your Gen Z, your Gen Alpha, apparently, see now is my chance to ask you a question, right? But apparently do appreciate a degree of flexibility. They don't say we want to be in all the time.
Yeah.
So it tends to land on hybrid.
Yeah.
But definitely I think fully remote's a problem.
Yeah.
But hey, what do you think? How are you? What's your take on what you think the blend is?
I am on a similar page to you. I personally wouldn't like anything that's fully remote. I think being able to have that balance, being able to work from home and being able to come into the office is like the perfect mix of both. I think post-COVID, I think working in like full-time in the office is something that probably won't be a thing for a lot of people now. Because I think with COVID and the pandemic, like it became the norm almost to work from home. You didn't have any other option. And then obviously then easing yourself back into the post-pandemic life of then being hybrid. I think that's a lot of what a lot of people are doing nowadays. I think the majority of people will be doing hybrid. And I think personally for me, I think that would be the ideal situation.
How it sounds.
I would say the opposite, actually. I would say
You don't want to go in at all.
not even that. I would love to go in
Yeah.
purely because I would love the routine, having to wake up every morning, go to work, come back and have home as a home space, work as a workspace. So it's quite different to what you just said, Muskan. But hybrid does seem like quite a good balance for some people.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I wouldn't enjoy that.
I think a lot of people are lacking a sense of community, so I think
Yeah.
having the option to go in and be a part of something together is really important.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it is nice that it is kind of slightly adjusted where you can work like maybe 1 or 2 days from home.
I'd be quite interested in whether you would see it as a deal breaker, right? So there would have been a point at which people had said, if you can't have hybrid working, I don't want to work there. But I'm kind of it feels maybe that's less of a thing now, and there are employers who are starting to say you need to be back in the office.
Yeah.
I wouldn't for me it wouldn't be, because obviously I know that
It wouldn't
both
rule
of
a
you,
job out.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't, because I
Right.
mean if it's a good job at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's not worth ruling it out just because you've got to be in the office all 5 days. So I think, there's no point turning it down if it's a good job and it's what you want to do. So it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me.
Interesting.
I think a nice perspective on it as well is that with this rise of kind of hybrid working, it's really good for disabled individuals who may not be able to work full time in person. Like as a disabled student, I think the increase of hybrid working has been really actually nice to see. So it definitely is good for some communities some other people might want to be in. But I think it's good.
And we've got one last question for you. What advice would you give to a student whose mental health issues are impacting their motivation to focus on their career planning?
Did you say one thing?
I mean,
what advice?
Any bit of advice.
The obvious thing I would say is don't suffer alone.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I would say is, mental health challenges are very common, if not pretty much universal. So don't not seek help is the first thing. Again, I would come back to it can be challenging to find a job. It can definitely be challenging to go from not just university, which has its own kind of rules and ways of working, into a workplace that tends to be a little bit, I don't mean negatively, but chaotic is kind of what I'm going to say. It's less structured, it's less focused, it's more complex, less simple. So, that is challenging, and I think the sort of but that's normal. It's entirely normal to feel that. That's kind of, you can expect that a little bit. I think that's going to be much easier, because my concern is that otherwise people say, why am I getting this wrong?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I would say, you know, in a way, look after yourself in terms of, in those moments of challenge, it's not necessarily you. There's a guy called Dan Pink, who is a sort of a business writer. He talks about buoyancy. So the idea, you've read Dan Pink?
No.
No? Okay. You said that like, oh yeah, no,
I
know he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he talks about buoyancy. So the idea of buoyancy, because he's talking about, for example, salespeople, and he talks about how they face an ocean of rejection, is the way he would put it. He says that the people who are buoyant will go, oh, maybe it just wasn't the right day, or maybe that set of people didn't quite connect to me, but the next set of people will, and you know, maybe there's something I can learn there. I think that sort of open mindset is healthy. So yeah, I think I think just looking after yourself and calibrating what you expect. And last thing on this, I'd say, is you'll be more familiar than I am with the misleading nature of social media. So on a social level, you know, you can look at a set of images or statements and go, well, everyone else seems to be doing much better than I am and much happier than I am, but they've just chosen that picture and they've manufactured that statement. LinkedIn is that. Right. So if you look on LinkedIn, everyone is having the most amazing
time
career
of their life.
and they're acing it every day,
everything's perfect,
and their jobs are amazing. Right. But that is a brand. That is a, you know, that is a of course it's quite hard to get on, but actually I do know people who I respect a lot who will go on LinkedIn and say, I had a really tough day, and you know, right now I'm looking after myself because I'm struggling with X, you know, and I really respect that. But I think be skeptical about that, because it's not the right picture.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak to us, and we hope that you've enjoyed it.
I have enjoyed it. Okay, and thank you very much for working with us and informing our thinking and supporting other students through doing this. So thank you very much for doing it.
Thank you.